It is time now for the Bercich Breakdown, and he is down in the laboratory once again. Pete Bercich from the Vikings Audio Network joining us. Vikings come off a stunner, Pete. They go into Detroit, and the guy who likes to play bully ball and wants to be the intimidator, not only beating you on the scoreboard, but beating you physically, was unable to do either last Sunday. And to me, and to probably everybody watching this video, how did this happen? I mean, this team looked like it was done after the trip to LA. They looked like there was no fight left in them. And then all of a sudden, huzzah, the Minnesota Vikings appear.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can accomplish when you put your mind to it. And I say it in that way because this team, I wouldn't call it a total transformation per se, but they were a different club, much more physical on defense than we've seen them over the last couple of weeks. Having Van Ginkel in there, yes, that absolutely helps. But you listen to Grenard all week long. Grenard wanted this win. A lot of these guys wanted this win, and they did what was necessary to get it done. So I think the physicality of the defense was a huge part. And by that, I mean they were physical, and then Flores allowed them to be aggressive, meaning we blitzed quite a bit.
Right.
This is Jahmyr Gibbs was averaged 160 all-purpose yards against us and multiple touchdowns. He had 5 last year. We gave up 12 rushing touchdowns all last season. He had 5 of them. They kept him in the backfield by blitzing and doing a number of other things. That's the scheme part of it taking over. But they got Jared Goff off of his game. He was against us. He's a 76.4% completion guy, and I believe he was somewhere in the 60s, mid 60s. And you saw it during the game, right? Some normal timing routes that the Lions are, unbelievably good at doing. They just weren't there. There were some drops. Getting rid of the football. Goff was on the ground. He was sacked a number of times. All that together really changed the dynamic of the game. And, offensively, they wanted to be aggressive. They gave us a bunch of single high safety. And for J.J. McCarthy, to his credit, he was very accurate on the outside. He was very accurate throwing the ball down the field, especially in the red zone. So Aaron Jones loves playing against these Lions. He had averaged 70 all-purpose yards last year against the Lions, and he was kind of doing the same thing. It's just the front that they play. He can kind of jitterbug all over the place, and he was very, very effective. And that's kind of something we've seen with McCarthy when he's in the fourth quarter of the Bears game. When the running game kicks in, this thing starts flowing, especially in the passing game per se. But although being healthy is important and having the right guys in there is important, but the overall attitude, and that was the most remarkable part, I think, of the whole thing, was Thursday to look as just flat,
uninspired.
The whole thing. I mean, to lose by 27, and then play a team that should be more physical than the one you just lost to that ran up and down the field on you, and then to match them, not just match them in physicality, but really dominate the game. Probably in my opinion, the most impressive win that Kevin O'Connell's had as a coach, because he's never won in Detroit. I don't think we've won in Detroit since COVID, since
2020. Yep.
So, that place is turned into a nightmare in a few short years. And, going in there and planting a flag and saying, no, we're going to 8.5-point underdogs. I mean, that energized everybody, right? And not just the team, but everybody around the team, the fans,
absolutely.
us. So now we know what they're capable of.
All right.
Now, they just have to do it every single week.
Okay, you talked about attitude, and the post-game comments in the locker room was, the captains got up and spoke, and there are 8 captains of your Minnesota Vikings, and they say that really changed things. You've been around, you've been a player, you've been a coach, you've been an analyst. So when you hear players say that, or you were in those rooms, was there a time when you were on a team and the players kind of took over and said, look, this is stupid. We are not this horrible. Let's get this going. And then the ship was righted. So do you buy into that, or was it more the schemes that O'Connell and Flores put together for them to be successful against the Lions?
Well, when you have a player meeting like that, it's not necessarily about the schemes per se. It's more about execution and attitude, effort, those sort of things. Normally, those meetings happen when the captains and the stars of the team aren't really carrying their weight, or they're not playing the way they want to, right? So it's kind of a rally to get everyone together to say, all right, clean slate. You're going to get every single thing I have tomorrow. Match, follow me, match me, right? That's leadership.
Okay.
And I think for everybody to hear every single one of the captains get up there and talk about what they're planning to do and how they're planning about doing it, it's inspirational, but it showed, right? So, again, the physicality of the whole thing, the effort, just the forced fumbles that we had, the one that we had. I mean, just
right. That was play, effort,
right? The Cashman fumble, that was right
all
there.
Effort.
Pursuit, the whole thing. Those things haven't necessarily always been happening, and if it takes that kind of a meeting to get everybody on the same page, then they should be doing it every week.
All right. See if I can dig this up. I may have to wait a question for this one, because this is about J.J. McCarthy explaining his attitude, right? We've seen the face paint on him this year make John Randall blush, that how much he puts on there. It's good. But I'll give you my other question first. Is what you saw Sunday, and then I'll dig up this McCarthy thing, so we'll get to that in a second. And by the way, as long as we're promoting stuff and what's coming up, Eye in the Sky, that's Pete's YouTube channel. He's got one on the three-headed monster. We'll get into Baltimore, but he's got a whole specific film breakdown that's attached right after this video, so stay for that. But is this sustainable? What you saw, is this truly what this Viking team is, or was this a one-off where you say the captains spoke and rose the emotion of the team to a fever pitch? But can you stay at that level now going up against Baltimore?
Yeah, you can. I think it's just a matter of effort and the amount of effort you put in and week out, taking care of your body, having raising the base level, so to speak, right? And you're not just going out there to do your job, quote unquote. You're out there to, hurt people, break things, right? Cause damage, so to speak. That's what you're trying to do. And it's not a normal thing, and you have to take yourself to a certain level mentally. But doing it together, I mean, the guys can feed off of each other. That's a tremendous thing. It's a tremendous thing, and hopefully they can keep this thing going. I think they can. You got to stay healthy,
right?
But it's a challenge, I think, now with a 17-game season, and there's a lot of other things and headwinds in that regard. But overall, you're already about halfway through this thing, so just finish out the second half of the season that way, and good things will be, I think, just on the other side.
All right, I'm going to read Kevin Seifert's tweet of ESPN. He put this out there. J.J. McCarthy has a name for the mean mug that showed up Sunday in Detroit. You saw it when he was on the sideline in the tunnel about to come out. He calls it 9. It is, quote from JJ, it is an outlet for the rage he has felt on IR last season. There's a lot of power that comes from that built-up anger that you could translate into your performance. Unquote, J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, I mean, whatever works for you, man, right? Whatever works for you. You know what I'm saying? And that was kind of the feel that you got from someone like Grenard's statements, where he's saying they just don't like the Lions, and I kind of chuckle at it because you're not supposed to like your division opponents. We didn't like the Packers, that's for sure. It's not like we personally hated these people. And 20 years down the road, you weren't going to, if you saw one, you wouldn't, sit down and talk and do whatever. But not liking your rival is okay, right? You have to not trick yourself, but put yourself in a position mentally that's not easy to get to. But it's much easier if you're grumpy and if you don't like things and you allow things to get to you and bother you. For JJ, the year on IR, if that's a rallying point for him, it's taking a negative and really turning it into a positive, I guess. It's a way of doing that. So I that's awesome for him. The problem is that that's going to go away after time, and you're going to have to keep reinventing the wheel and finding something else. So just make that a part of who you are, meaning when you step on the field, you become number 9 or however it is that you want to call it, and do it. And if that's what you need to do, then go ahead. I was around one of the best in John Randall, a guy who could whip himself up into a frenzy like nobody else I've ever seen. It didn't matter who we were playing. If he was putting the pads on and going on the field, that's just how he was.
Yeah. Well, and Harrison Smith has told me before in the past that he said, look, if we really thought about this game in realistic terms of what we're putting our bodies out there for, he said, you'd never cross that white line. He said, I'd have a better time crossing 35W at rush hour and not getting hit and getting hurt than I would on a football field. But he says you have to put that out of your mind. You have to take on this role of invincibility. And I'm sure you did that same thing when you played, that, you know what, I'm going to inflict the pain. I'm not going to take the pain. And you don't think about, if I stick my head in there, I could injure my clavicle.
Yeah. No, you're not worried about life when you're 50 and 60 and 70 when you're playing football. It's a short window. You're trying to make as big of an impact and play as long as you possibly can. You do not worry about how this is going to affect yourself later on down the road. You'll survive all of that. You know what I mean? So yes, it's definitely what's important now style of thinking. And for, Harrison Smith, he's pushing 40, so he's pretty close to that age anyway. So he might be feeling some of that stuff. I don't know, but he's right. But that's something that it's from day one. As soon as you start putting the pads on, you're not worried about how you're going to feel in the morning. If you did, nobody would play the game. But it's it's worth it to go out there and be able to do that. Fly around, hit people, just do all those things. You have to really love what you do. You can't fake that.
All right. The offense and J.J. McCarthy's numbers overall, they weren't eye-popping, but they were critical to the Vikings. And this is the point you brought up last week. If you want to go back to the YouTube clip last week, his main point was the Vikings need to get the lead. All season long, they have had the lead. Going into that Detroit game, 64 offensive snaps. In the Lions game, they had the lead on 42 snaps. So that changes everything. You pointed that out. You said if they get the lead, they can dictate what's going on. Then it also puts the pressure on Goff. They can't use their vaunted running game because they're behind. They've got to try different things. And that's where you said Flores' defense excels. And sure enough, that's what happened.
Yeah, it matches the identity of this team. This is not a necessarily a come-from-behind type team. This is a team that's supposed to be explosive on offense, put up a lot of points, and then have a defense that can just really take advantage of you if you're trying to score quickly. We did give up a touchdown on the opening drive to the Detroit Lions. I mean, that's 3 weeks in a row. It's I think, or it's the third week in a row. I believe the fourth or third touchdown that we've given up on the opening drive. I mean, so that is still there. But they did respond in kind. I mean, that's where all three phases of the game matter. And that was another, I think, point on this victory is, the defense gets out there and they, don't.
No.
Detroit gets very aggressive, and they end up scoring a touchdown. Well, special teams comes out, and Price takes that thing all the way to the opposite side, and across the 50. I think it was a 60-some yard return, and then you go ahead. So it's special teams leading to a short field. Offense gets out there, they put up a touchdown, cover a kick. Defense goes out, makes a stop, make them punt. Good punt return. Offense gets back on the field. Next thing you know, you have a lead. And they did change that. They did change that around, and that was a big point of emphasis, I think, going into this game. So they went out and executed it among a ton of other things. And again, that's why this victory was so amazing.
Yes.
But all three phases played well.
All right, let's get to Baltimore, and your video gives us a preview of what people can find on the Eye in the Sky. Just put in his name, Pete Bercich, Eye in the Sky. That will pop up. The three-headed monster. Yeah. The Vikings are going to be dealing with something that really is unique to the National Football League. I don't think there's another team that possesses three powerful human beings like the Baltimore Ravens do.
Yeah, I mean, we don't play the Ravens that often. I remember the 2013 game when there were 5 touchdowns scored in 2 minutes and 5 seconds. If you've never seen it or aren't familiar with it, jump on YouTube, and there's a number of videos about it. Cordell Patterson with the kick returns and everything, and that was actually Toby Gerhardt's probably best game. Had a 41-yard touchdown run. If you remember Toby Gerhardt, that name. The Ravens, they're a schizophrenic team, man. I mean, last year they started out rough, and then they turned it around and became a good team by the end of the year. And the same thing is kind of happening this year, where you start out 1-5, and you're thinking, what's going on? Yes, they lost Lamar for 3 games in there, but they've won 2 in a row. They beat the Bears at home, and then they went out and beat Miami. And so now they're kind of getting back on a roll. And you look at Lamar's numbers, 136.7 passer rating, number 1 in the league, 14 touchdowns, only 1 interception. His completion to touchdown ratio is the best in the NFL. He's led the league twice. If he does it again this year, that'd be 3 years in a row, which ties him with Steve Young for doing it for 3 seasons.
Wow.
The only people that have done it for 4 seasons are Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. So, he's doing a phenomenal job, and the video kind of explains all the different areas where he's so good. He's so good at extending plays and his receivers making things happen. He's so good at pre-snap diagnosis, where he knows if it's man-to-man, he's going to do one thing. If it's zone, he's going to do another. Scrambling when it is man-to-man, and just taking the ball down and running with it when the opportunities are there. He's very smart. I think he still struggles with some short range or underneath accuracy, despite his completion percentage. I think you can coax him into some bad throws, but he's super good. Derrick Henry, I mean, he's kind of back on a roll. You wondering how are they winning these games all of a sudden? Well, Derrick Henry has over 100 yards in 2 of the last 3 games. He had 119 yards on 19 rushing attempts against the Miami Dolphins, and they kind of wear you out with him. So don't relax if he's didn't have a stellar first half. It's that 3rd and 4th quarter where Derrick Henry likes to really, start flexing that muscle. He's going to wear you out. And then third on defense, because their defense has been as black and white as you could possibly imagine. Over the last 3 games, I mean, they were giving up 34.5 points a game, I think, through the first 5.
Okay.
In the last 3, they've dropped that by 22 points. They're giving up 93 less yards per game over the last 3 games. So what have they done? Well, part of it is Alohi Gilman. They made a trade in week 6 and brought in Alohi Gilman, and they kind of put him at deep safety. So that allows them to bring Kyle Hamilton and put him in the box. And they're going to play Kyle Hamilton a lot like we do Josh Metellus or Harrison Smith. They've had troubles getting to the quarterback. They only have 11 sacks. That's the second lowest in the league. And so over the bye, they sat down, Zach Orr, their defense coordinator, they sat down and said, okay, we need to start getting aggressive. And how are they doing it? Well, they're bringing guys like Kyle Hamilton down in the paint. And what you're finding out, because, well, let's say prior to the trade, the trade, Hamilton was in the box around 17% of the time. He's now down there almost 57% of the time. And he's blitzing. He's blitzing off the edge. He's blitzing up the middle. And he's a very, very good blitzer. Can defeat a running back blocking him, plays the run really well, even though he's down in the paint. So you're kind of finding a whole new talent set for Kyle Hamilton. And he's been very, very effective. Because you don't need to be dropping him off in coverage all the time anymore. And that's really been the big change. And against Miami, he probably blitzed off the edge 4 or 5 times and made an impact on every one, almost every one. Tackle for a loss, doing a number of other things. So those 3 players have, really stand out. And those are the 3 guys I think they're going to lean on going forward.
All right. Well, check it out. It's coming up right after this video. The 3-headed monster, Eye of the Sky podcast, Pete Bercich. Catch him Sunday on Fox 9. He'll be on Game Day Live. He'll be on the audio call of the Minnesota Vikings with the great Paul Allen, a national treasure. I think he's been now labeled.
So I've heard.
What do they label you as? If he's a national treasure.
I'm a sidekick, man. That's it. Just a sidekick.
But a good one. Look at how good Ed McMahon was all those years.
Yep, that's true.
Or Guillermo. Would that be more fitting? That would be me when you're on Vikings postgame tonight. I'd be the Guillermo of that show. That's what I am. So, in other words, catch all of Pete. But till we get to Sunday, check out his videos on his YouTube page. And you got a new one, too. Sundays, the flipping the flip card. Is that what it's called?
It's just a day before the game, just all the info on the flip card. There's so much information that we have going into these games. I just want to get it out there, let the fans hear about it, and have them be as prepared as possible for the matchup on Sunday. So it's a lot of fun.
Go into the game smart, people. Know what you're talking about when you're complaining to your friends.
Know what to look for. Because there's a lot to watch.
Exactly.
There's a lot going on.
All right. We'll see you Sunday at kickoff, Pete. Thank you so much.
All right, Jim. See you.